Hello, welcome to Somerset News Network. My series of Trump versus Starmer. Two totally different guys. Trump is up front, he's honest, and he's done what he said he would do. Starmer has got as much personality as a slug. Now, Trump in the United States has 63 court cases against his executive orders and against his appointees doing their job. One judge, I should say, has declared that the political appointees can't look at the data. So Trump might have appointed a director of a department and he can't look at the data because the judge said so. Well, I don't think that's going to go down very well, and I don't think it's going to go through. It'll be appealed against and end up in the High Court or the Supreme Court of the United States. Now, Starmer, on the other hand, has got 400 MPs. And there's only 635, I think, MPs in Parliament. So he's got an absolute majority. He thinks he can do what he likes. And what Starmer is doing, which they're saying Trump is, they're saying Trump's a dictator and all the rest of it. But Starmer is using what they say the right of the crown privilege. Because he's Prime Minister, he says he can do it. This is what Blair did to go to war in Iraq. You know, when we had we only got 45 minutes to save us all. You know, that was Mandleton. You know, the ambassador to America, he was part of that gang. You know, wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him. Now, Starmer is doing things without the consent of Parliament. The Caicos Islands is trying to palm off on somebody else. And then we got to rent it back. Now, at the moment, we've got it. It's our territory. Starmer is going to give it away, and then we will have to rent the ground back out again that we've already got. The Americans use it because it's a base right in the middle of the Indian Ocean. Right in the middle of Africa, India, Indonesia, Australia, right bang smack in the middle. We think that's wrong. We don't think that he's got the power to do it without the consent of Parliament. And the problem is, there's 400 Labour MPs. He's going to get the consent he needs if it goes to Parliament. This is a problem we got. Starmer is acting like a dictator. He's popping off all over the world. He's not managing this country. You know, Sunday he was in Ukraine. Tuesday, God knows where he is. But he isn't here running this country, which is what he was elected to do. He is working for somebody else, maybe the WEF. Because he ain't sure working for us. Trump, on the other hand, has found out all the crime of the Democrats. And they're you know, like they say, follow the money. They're finding out the funding is going all over the place. The USAID was funding NGOs. NGOs was giving money to another NGO that was ending up back in the pockets of Democrats. Democrats might have been directors of charities and things like this. You know, They're totally two different people. Trump on one hand and Starmer on the other. Now, Trump is a bit brash, but you've got to look at what he does, not how he appears. He's a joker. He'll say things to create, not conflict, but create interest, get people talking about him. Starmer, on the other hand, doesn't say anything. You know, well, he did. He said he's prepared to go to war in Ukraine. Absolute craziness. We have, in the past, if politicians had been up to the same sort of things as our politicians have been up to, we've got Starmer with secrets that nobody will talk about. If you talk about them, you're cancelled. Your Facebook post, if you talk about it on Facebook, it's just vanished. I made one comment and it just vanished. It went, boom, gone. I started typing one, it was a long post on Facebook. It was deleted before I'd even pressed post. Unbelievable. And this is a censorship that's going on in this country. I keep talking about free speech. We have the right of free speech under the Bill of Rights. That's it. But nobody talks about it. America, they say they got the right of free speech and they stand up for it. Here, we have free speech and they try and suppress us. They cancel us. They say that the right of free speech that's in the Bill of Rights is for MPs only. The way it's worded, that free speech and debate or proceedings in Parliament. That little bit word, 2 letters, OR, or, splits it into 2 parts. So you've got the right of free speech and debate and the proceedings in Parliament. 2 separate parts. Cannot be questioned in any court outside of Parliament. That's why when the newspapers say something and it's a question of free speech, it goes directly to the High Court. Now we come to people making Facebook posts. They too, in my opinion, have the right of free speech under the Bill of Rights, Article 9, 1689. The same as Americans got free speech. Americans' Bill of Rights was on our Bill of Rights. It's based on the Magna Carta, our Bill of Rights, and habeas corpus, which we had originally. You know, I have a theory. I'm going to jump onto something else now. I have a theory of why we had the War of Independence in America in 1775. That's when it started, 1775. They talk about 1776. That's when the Bill of Rights, the American Constitution, was written down. Now, 1776, the British, that's us, were in control of America. And we have British redcoats, our troops in America. Now, William Pitt was the Prime Minister but became ill. And Lord North took over, I don't know, in the late 1760s. By 1772, we had taxed America for cotton, tobacco, sugar, We'd also charge them a barracks tax and a tea tax. We needed money. The country was in decline. So they thought they'd get the money off America. And that's where we got the taxation without representation. Now, I agree with the Americans. They should have been a more independent unit. But we then fought them to try and control it. Lexington, a shot was fired and the two armies were then at war. But I have a theory, and you historians out there would have to do some digging and finding out. I'm not a scholar. I just come across information, and my brain starts ticking over. I know you've got cause and effects. Things happen, and things then end up doing things. And that's what I think. Now, what I think is in 1772 in England, there was a ship's captain in London captured what they said was a runaway slave, a guy called Somerset, and Somerset was spelt with two T's then. Now Somerset had been in Boston as a slave. He'd come to this country and he decided that he was free. The abolitionists of the slave trade picked up his case and went to court. They used Old English law that no man could own another. And we think that comes from 1297 under King Edward I. No man can own another. Because it can't be William the Conqueror of 1066, because he allowed slavery. He just said a slave couldn't be sold outside of the country. So, no man could own another, and Somerset won his court case. Now I'm thinking that the British government has now said, the court case, now said that Somerset is a free man and that no man could own another. But we still had slavery in America. Now, America was a dependent of Britain, and British law also went to America. The Bill of Rights, Magna Carta, and all the rest of it. The businessmen, you could call it the deep state now, the elites, who had the slaves in South America, in the states, South American states. They wanted the free labor. They wanted to keep slaves. So I think the War of Independence, or a part of the War of Independence, was to maintain slavery, because the War of Independence did not stop slavery. It continued. Then you had the American Civil War in 1860, which then banned slavery. England, we banned slavery and we fought the slave trade in 1833. We captured slave ships and freed the slaves. I think that was a part of why you have the War of Independence. I'm not saying it's the only reason, but I'm saying it could be a part of the reason. And it would be the secret deep state. What we're seeing now with Trump finding out what the USAID is up to and funding all these things under the carpet, the secret government, the shadow government they call it. That must have been happening back then. We don't know who the players are. It's up to you historians to find out. That's my theory and I'm sticking to it. Anyway, Ian, Somerset News Network. Bye-bye.